everybody, and welcome to the Planning and Zoning Commission meeting, Tuesday, June 10th. I'll call the meeting to order and start roll call on the left.
Frank Mills.
June Gagny.
Kathy Mestimaker Harris.
John Meyer.
Carla Desjardins.
Dan Kipchevich.
Katie O'Neill.
Ryan Britt. Sean Staub.
Sherry Pollard.
All right, thank you. We do have a quorum, and I'll be appointing Kathy Mestimaker Harris for Bart Haskell this evening. Starting with public hearings, item A, 25-8SP of Olga Photos, requesting special permit for an accessory dwelling unit in a commercial building on property located at 628 Norwich Road, Assessor's Map 2P, Block 36, Lot 28, C2 zoning district. Do we have someone to speak for the applicant?
It does not appear as though she is here. I can run through it real quick. So she has purchased the old Stevens Motors right next door to Longo's, and she would like to put an apartment behind the old Stevens Motors. If you look at the front of the building, you have the service bays. Right behind it, there is an addition off the back. She'd like to put an apartment above. It is 576 square feet, well smaller than the service areas. I have no issues with the application.
Okay. So this is a public hearing. If there's anyone in the audience with a comment or a question on the application. Board members, since the applicant's not here to ask questions, we can close the public hearing without the applicant, or we can continue the public hearing to next month for the applicant to be present. So it's really up to the board how you want to proceed with that.
Make a motion, go ahead and close the public hearing.
Okay. I have a motion by Frank to close the public hearing, a second by June. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Public hearing is closed. Moving on to item B, 25-9SP of Linden Landscape Architects, requesting a special permit for construction of new fire headquarters on property located at 12 Railroad Ave, Plainfield, Assessor's Map 1P, Block 39, Lot 25, RE30 zoning district. And we have for the applicant.
Good evening. For the applicant, I'm Brian Humes, representing Jakunski Humes Architects out of Berlin, Connecticut. I also have with me tonight Tom Linden, representing Linden Landscape Architects out of Wethersfield. We are here on behalf of the owner, who's the Plainfield Fire District, proposing a new fire headquarters at 12 Railroad Avenue. I want to give a little history and background on the project. The size of the facility and the location of the facility. One, the size of the facility. Back in 2019, June of 2019, I conducted a space needs assessment with the assistance of the Plainfield Fire Department. This is representing Volunteer Fire Company number 1. Their current location is 620 Norwich Road. And in June of 2019, we had concluded a square footage size of 16,663 square feet. This is compared to their existing facility at 7,804 square feet. So this represented to the fire department the inadequacy of their facility at 620 Norwich Road. The stated needs was looking at not just current needs. They're planning for 20-year growth within this facility. They'd like this facility to accommodate current and future needs at Volunteer Fire Company number 1. And they've been living with a facility that was originally constructed in 1968. It had a 1982 addition, and then it had an addition in the year 2000. So it's a 1968 building that's been added on to multiple times. It's inefficient for their use, and it's insufficient for modern firefighting equipment within the facilities. So this started the project 6 years ago as to how we were going to satisfy the needs of a modern fire facility for for Plainfield. Also, as part of this feasibility study, we analyzed the parking requirements, the site requirements, all of the need for first responders coming onto and off the site, apron areas, zoning setbacks, and still in 2019, we had recommended a site area of 2.65 acres to satisfy the needs. So now we had a 16,600 square foot footprint proposed with a land area of 2.65 acres. At that point is when the Plainfield Fire District then set out to seek available land to meet those requirements. So it's tonight that we present to you that 6-year effort of finding property, obtaining property. They had to acquire a parcel, and that parcel was 12 Railroad. They've acquired the property. It is now in their possession. They purchased it through the Norwich Archdiocese. They purchased the property that the former school was on. There still is an adjacent parcel that a rectory is still existing, and they still own the church across the street. So this is just a parcel that they have sold off that occupied the former school building and the area of the school. They were able to obtain 2.93 acres at this location. So the parcel has been cleared of the former school. It has been that school that was there was abated, so they have done work to prepare the site for this fire headquarters. They have done a survey, and this is a survey that's showing Railroad Avenue to the south, Windsor Avenue to the west, and then the former rectory is a portion of the building, portion of the property that they did not purchase, and that's this area right here. There's been some discussion about the suitability of this site for a fire headquarters. The fire department have looked at this site. Obviously, they're very aware of why they purchased this site, the use of this site. But locating a fire facility within the community is an important aspect of building a new facility. The location of the fire facility also deals with ISO ratings, insurance industry standards for insurance ratings for homeowners. Response times is always a concern about locating a fire facility. What this slide shows you is, to the right is the current location at 620 Norwich Road, and the end of the blue line on the left is the location at 12 Railroad Avenue. The distance between the two is 0.4 miles. The travel distance is 3 minutes. So as far as travel distance and location and response times, there's a 3-minute difference. The fire department is very familiar with this area. They're familiar with the response times. Shifting the facility 0.4 miles is not impacting their response times in any significant way within their response area. There are other routes that are shown here between the current location and the proposed location. All of these routes are available, and they're familiar with the road networks, and they feel that this is a suitable location, gives them what they need in a location that doesn't impact the ISO ratings or response times within the community. So this is how the site is being proposed. You'll see a building, and the building that is now being proposed is 17,716 square feet. It does have some mezzanine areas for a second floor, and the total overall height of the building is 29 feet. We've located zoning setbacks. This building conforms to all the zoning setbacks for the front yards, and actually we have front yard on Railroad, we have front yard on Windsor, each of them being 40 feet. We're complying with the setbacks, we're complying with the height requirements. But one of the things that's unique about this parcel is it's a fire department with a lot of parking shown on it. There's a lot of parking on the right side of this facility. There's a lot of parking to the rear of the facility. When the Plainfield Fire District purchased this lot from the Archdiocese, there was an agreement between the buyer and the seller that this parcel would continue to provide parking for the church across the street. That agreement was a gentleman's agreement that there would be approximately 100 spaces available for Sunday morning use by the church across the street. So we looked at this site in designing it for pedestrians to actually come to this site, park here, and have clear crossings, sidewalks, crossings to get to the church. So yes, there's more parking here than is required by the fire department, but they're upholding that agreement with the Archdiocese. They're more than happy to make this lot available for public use, for church activities, and it's a convenient location to make that church a viable congregation on a Sunday or a Saturday or whenever they're holding services at the church. So yeah, that's a unique aspect that you see with this, but I just wanted to explain the reasoning behind that. Within the 98 spaces, there are spaces within the parcel that are designated for first responders. So there is an agreement that first responders will have priority to come onto the site because this is still a volunteer facility. They're getting volunteer response for fire calls. So first responder parking is designated, but that designation is not in proximity to the parking that's closest to the church. The first responder parking would be to the center of the plan and gives responders access into the building. We've placed the handicap parking, 4 spaces for handicap parking, in the closest proximity to the church, knowing that that was a convenience that they were providing for the congregation across the street. We have an apron that comes onto Railroad Avenue, and we have 4 bays which are going to be on Railroad Avenue. Those 4 bays are your primary response vehicles coming on and off of the site. 3 of those 4 bays are drive-through, so they have the ability to return to the facility, drive through the bays, and then line up the vehicles to the front of the facility again. In addition to the 4 bays for frontline vehicles coming onto Railroad, we have the 3 bays in the back to create 3 drive-through bays, but we also have 3 bays that are still open to the rear. Those have a little lower ceiling clearance. Those are for auxiliary vehicles and auxiliary needs, but it's not for frontline response. The circulation off the site for emergency vehicles will be onto Railroad. We've shown turning radiuses off the apron to get onto Railroad going either east and west. Returning vehicles would be coming back to the site from Windsor Avenue, returning, turning into the site, and then lining up either come drive-through or backing into the spaces that are to the north for auxiliary facilities. The auxiliary vehicles, if coming out of these bays, and these would be utility trailers and other things that they have to get undercover, smaller vehicles, they would be exiting onto Windsor Avenue. So we don't see Windsor Avenue as really being a high volume. It's mostly low volume returning vehicles. Most of the activity would be coming east and west on the railroad. We've separated that activity from what could be public cars coming on and off from railroad. Those access to the parking spaces by public also has access on and off the site on Windsor.
Question. Is that existing driveway for the parking for the public? Is that an existing driveway or is that a different curb cut?
This one here?
Yes.
That is pretty close to what we have for existing curb cut at this location.
Okay. So for the apron for the garage doors,
Yes.
it is Connecticut Route 14A.
It is.
So is there DOT approval on the curb cuts?
I think Tom can respond to that.
Okay. I just didn't
when
see it
Tom
on
gets
here, so I just want to clarify if DOT is already reviewed for the curb cuts on 14A. Okay.
For the
I
record,
jumped ahead on your presentation, I apologize.
for the record, Tom Linden, Linden Landscape Architects, the site planner for the project. To answer that question, yes, there's a DOT encroachment permit to put a new driveway cut on that street, and that will be handled by us as we move forward with putting the project out to bid and construction. DOT doesn't like to see things too early. They always
Sure.
want to see it
Yep.
then. So yes, that is, and the new entrance to the proposed parking is very close to where the driveway is now. We tried to line it up as best we could from the street across the street so that they weren't offset. They're offset a little bit now.
All right, thank you.
So you've seen the orientation of the floor plan on the site. This is the 17,716 square footage. Again, it's most of the spaces that are going to be utilized by the fire department is to the lower left. We have a public entrance. One of the features that they don't currently have in their facility is any ability to train. A training classroom is going to be the largest single space facing out to the intersection of Windsor and Railroad. Most of the office spaces would be toward the south of the plan. They have some firefighters functions. They are planning this for future, so there are going to be some bunk spaces available for future. And then there's a day room. Everything around the apparatus bay is firefighter support functions, gear storage, hose storage, typical firefighters requirements. And that's also true with the bays to the top, and then some mechanical spaces. It's a really functional, efficient plan. As far as the exterior, all of the roofing is going to be a hipped roof, low visibility hipped roof. The exterior is going to be masonry. There'll be aluminum clad windows on the exterior. This shows all of the roofing, which is going to be sloped. So we don't have any flat roofs on this building. We think it's more appropriate for Plainfield to represent pitched roofs. So we'll have downspouts, gutters and downspouts, collecting water, bringing it to an underground retention system. And this was an earlier rendering of the building on the corner of Windsor and Railroad. As the apparatus bay doors will be the main feature on the front, along with the front entrance. The lettering on the building would identify the building. We're not presenting tonight any requirements for any road signs, anything that, if that happens, that would be a separate application. We just have the lettering on the building, identifying the building. And then I'm going to turn it over to Tom because the rest of the drawings are all representing the scope from Linden Landscape Architects.
Thank you. Brian's already gone through the first page and a half worth of everything that I was going to talk about for circulation and the zoning setbacks and everything. So that on that L0 that he was showing you, there's the zoning chart that shows what the actual setbacks are required, proposed, and the parking counts on there. So he's done a pretty good job of giving you an idea of the overall site plan. I think what I need to do is jump to, we're going to skip to the utilities plan. One more. That's good. Yeah, I guess. Because grading will go into utilities. So right now, as you know, the site is basically a big bowl. The parking lot behind the school is the low point of the whole site. So the hill coming down from this side, it's coming down from there. Windsor slopes down, Railroad sloping down. Right now, everything drains to the middle, to the back, which was pavement behind the school. We're doing basically the same thing with the grading, just because that's the way to make it work. It's all of the pavement is going to drain towards this area, and I'll show you on the next plan showing the utilities how the drainage actually works. The existing school building was right about here. This was the only portion that drained out towards the street naturally. This is the only portion that's going to drain out to the street naturally now. And it's basically just going to be surface drain. I'll show you. We're going to pick up all the roof leaders and all that stuff into the system. So yeah, let's go to utilities. I'll do the easy ones first. So water and gas service is going to come off Railroad Avenue because that's where the services are now. The mechanical space is in this portion of the building in the back. So the gas line will come around. There's a fire service line because the building is sprinkled. Separate domestic water line, and then there's going to be a separate truck-filled water line so that they can fill pumper trucks off of the meter. Electrical is coming off a pole on Windsor Avenue. We're already talking with Eversource about that. They're finding an easement to get to the transformer in the back and the generator in the back. And again, the electrical room and all the mechanical spaces are back here. So this is where all the utilities need to run to. I guess while I'm there, the generator and transformer on this side, we're going to put a 6-foot vinyl fence around it to screen it from the street. We'll go to the planting plan. There will be plants in front of that. Storm drainage was, well, no, stick with sanitary for just a minute. The bays have interior floor drains. They're required to have an oil water separator tank that goes to the sanitary system. Not allowed to drain out to the street, not allowed to be in the storm system. So this set of bays has interior floor drains that comes out to an oil water separator tank that will tie into the sanitary. Because we have the second set of bays in the back, there's a second tank here that ties into sanitary out in Windsor. Storm drainage was an interesting design. The storm drainage system in Railroad Avenue now is very shallow pipes. They're only from top of frame down to invert of pipe. The pipes are only like 4 feet deep. So to be able to do a detention system in the back and be able to get it to function and tie into that system, we ended up doing what looks like a very, very large underground detention system. It's basically this whole bay of parking, these whole bays of parking. They're the plastic arches, I'm sure you're familiar with, the plastic arch for the detention storage. Typically, you're looking at 4 foot, 5 foot, 6 foot big arches. These arches are only 1.5 foot roughly. So it's very shallow, and the reason for that is that to be able to outlet that system to tie into the road, the pipes needed to be shallow. So it looks huge, but it's literally only this big. So we were talking about that on the way down. It's going to be very easy to build because it's so shallow. One of the comments, I'll get to Brian's comments later, but one of the comments was the water table in the area, making sure that it doesn't affect the stormwater system. It's a shallow stormwater system, so we're hoping, we'll do some testing to make sure that we're not into the water table. So basically this entire system for stormwater, we're picking everything up in basins. It all grades down to this spot, goes into this system, and ties into Railroad Avenue out to an existing catch basin that's right next to where the driveway is now. All of the roof leader system is all picked up in underground piping that goes into the system. So none of the roof leaders spill out onto the ground. So we don't have any surface drainage at all. I should give you the plans. We have this set of plans is not the set of plans you're looking at there. We have this set of plans for you. We also have the storm drainage report that shows that there is no net increase in runoff from the site, which we're required to have. It actually decreases the amount of runoff from the site for all the various different storms. The sanitary connection, currently, the rectory and the school were on the same system. There's a series of manholes on our property side and a sewer pipe that the school building connected into in a couple different locations that finally connects to a lateral out in the street at this location down by the intersection. We're proposing to tie in all of the building sanitary, comes out at this point, as we're going to reuse that lateral out into the street. We have to connect this oil water separator into that system. This one's going out there. So what we're thinking about at very late in the game, but it makes sense to do it now that we've developed this far into it, we would have to define an easement so that this property could still use our system now that we're not the same owner. So what we're thinking now is potentially taking this house and tying them directly out into Railroad Avenue. That way we could limit our system to a shorter run. And the biggest thing, talking with Steffi, Water Pollution Control, early on, she asked about what condition this pipe is. It's very old.
Pause you for just a moment, because those revisions are not part of tonight's application. So it's my understanding you're going to come back next month with revisions that include what you're talking about right
Yes.
now. Is that correct?
Yes.
Okay. So
Okay.
if we could just present what you have tonight,
Yes.
because we know you have to come back next month with those details rather than us try to imagine.
Okay.
I want to see it.
Yep.
And I do want the
Okay.
big copy of the map.
Okay,
All right, thank you.
good, thanks.
Yes, agreed.
Yeah, that covers utilities, and that's what we should be, planting. So for the planting plan, we're, let's see if it's screen fence around the generator and transformer. We planted in front of it to kind of soften the look of having to look at a vinyl fence. We planted basically the two sides of the building, the front of the building, side of the building that face the street that you're going to see. Ornamental to make it look nice. We've got major trees in the back along the parking lot. And one of the other requirements is we have a 6-foot vinyl fence as our screen for this property on the corner.
What about the other property?
Hold on one moment. You'll have opportunity for questions once he finishes
Thank you.
presentation.
No, I'm sorry.
Yep, it is a public hearing. You'll have,
Yeah.
that's all right. You'll have your chance.
So this back corner is the wooded area, so we're counting that as screening that already exists. Along the back of the property, the gravel driveway that comes along the back off of Windsor Avenue that goes to backyards of some of these properties and all the way to the house at the very end. This is a 25-foot right-of-way on our property for their use for access to the house. There are some major trees along the south side of that gravel driveway, and the thought is that it doesn't make sense to, if we put up for instance, if we were to put up a fence, we would lose 25 feet of our property that is the right of way. To put it on the other side, you're now blocking everybody's driveways and their use of the property over there. Major trees here, and one of the comments from the town planner is to plant some more trees. They're shown as small, but there's big trees here to plant more trees along that right of way. That essentially is our landscape plan. The rest of it is, that's circulation. Lighting, very hard to see, but the photometrics for the lighting. The lighting for the parking lot is 20 foot tall poles to meet the regulations. It's LED lighting Dark sky compliant, has the back shield cutoffs so that nothing goes off the property, lights the property. There are some wall mounted, building mounted lighting for, outside the bays. No lighting across the front, it's just, there's light bollards along the sidewalk for safety. Lighting. And then the rest of it is all construction details. Lots of construction. Erosion control plans.
So this is a public hearing. If you have comments or questions, if you could stand up, state your name and your question.
Hi, I'm Shane Escalante. I live on 2A Windsor Ave. So I've been to that house for about 16 years. I understand the fire department's coming. I'm okay with it. I just have some concerns. My sewer goes right through this property. And I didn't see you guys address that for once. My sewer goes through your property, through that property. You guys did not address that. And the other thing about those big trees, yes, they are big trees. They're huge trees. That's down 100 feet. My driveway's about 300, something maybe 400 feet, so those are down at 100 feet. Now I'm just going to be looking at this huge open parking lot for my house. There's got to be some kind of, and you can't plant trees there because it's on a hill. So those trees are just going to go right through my driveway and create roots. So I'm worried, and I have water rights too, where I can dump water into that property. So I just want to make sure those are aware of. I'm okay with everything going on. I just want to make sure that those are addressed and they're known about. Were you aware of that?
So when you're doing excavation, have you already identified any water sewer lines that go through the property?
Thank you.
Thank you.
I can come up and show you exactly where it goes through, if you'd like me to.
That would be helpful because the surveyor didn't have
Oh,
any,
he's the one that told
any
me.
records of.
And then plus, the surveyor, there's a piece of property about 100 by 100 that's up in the air that's still mine, but technically because it wasn't done, my whole map, 40 years. Okay, yeah, okay, so I'm right here, this is my driveway. Oh, this is where this is right here, that's my driveway. So this is the street, the sewer goes right through there. But I can show you, like, if you come up to my house, here's my house right here, and the sewer just goes right here. So I have a ledge right here, which they couldn't get down.
Yeah.
This house used to go to this sewer, but finally they turned it around up there. So I have a sewer that goes all the way down. That's the only thing my concern. And plus my water rates. Like, I dump water, and what you guys think is adequate, it's been getting worse over the years how much water comes down off that hill.
The water drainage?
Yeah, it's, I mean, my basement was like, the whole, half those houses down at the bottom of the driveway are like this much underwater.
So when we're looking at identifying those lines, as you do the site work, those would have to be identified, right? And as you go through the drainage, so for the revised plans next month, those will be identified?
Yes.
Thank you. And then when we're talking about the vegetative buffer on the back with the trees, could you just point out where the existing trees are and then where the additional trees are going to be added?
I can show you again.
Okay, and then where are the new trees going to be added? Because the concern is there's not going to be enough screening between, so you're filling the gaps with additional trees. Is that right?
Yes.
Chair, if you look in your packet, I have.
I know, just for the public, right?
Okay.
Is that good? Thank you. All right, very good. So for next month, we'll have those updated. Awesome. Any other comments or questions from members of the public? And we will have revised plans next month, so this will be continued. Yeah, please.
I prepared some.
If you can state your name for the.
Yep,
Thank
absolutely.
you.
It's in here. I prepared some thoughts. Good evening. My name is Travis Irons. I'm a Green Hollow Road resident and have served as the Plainfield Fire Chief since 2017. The Plainfield Fire District, along with myself, has spent the majority of the last 5 years working with our architectural firm and a number of other consultants to carefully select 12 Railroad Avenue as the proposed site for our new fire station. The 2.93-acre parcel accommodates our needs to construct a modern facility that incorporates many industry-standard health and safety features not available to our dedicated workforce today. In continued partnership with Father Greg Jesnacki and the parishioners of the St. Andre Bessette Parish, our site will perpetually serve the parking needs of the church for services and other sanctioned events. Plainfield Fire maintained a heightened awareness of the community's close connection to the former St. John's Catholic School during the demolition process. We offered tours, participated in a farewell ceremony, and alumni were allowed to take keepsakes from the building. We ourselves preserved the school's external religious markings and turned over to Father Greg the building's time capsule that was sealed in 1929. Furthermore, the trunk section of the copper beech that stood in the school's dooryard will be milled and crafted into furniture items for both the parish and the new fire station. Each step, big and small, that we've taken throughout this process has always focused on minimizing community impact while future-proofing the fire company's mission to save lives and property during others' time of need. Similarly, it is our overarching desire to continue our mission while being a good neighbor to others on Railroad Avenue. Please know that your support going forward carries the Fire District's guarantee that the balance of this project will be as responsible and respectful to the needs of the community as it has been since we started in 2019. Thank you in advance for your consideration.
All right, any other comments or questions from the audience? Any other comments or questions from the board? Okay, so with the understanding we do need revised plans, I'll entertain a motion to continue the public hearing.
I'll make that motion.
Motion by June to continue the public hearing, second by John. All in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Okay, application, public hearing is continued to next month.
And just so the public is aware, that will be
July
July 8th, and we will probably be in the auditorium, could be in here, but we'll be at the school.
But it will be on the agenda, the location, so stay tuned. All right, moving on to item C, 25-10SP, William Poocher, requesting to convert a 499 square foot office to accessory dwelling unit at 97 Ward Ave, section 12.28.2 of the regulations, ADU in the commercial district, assessors map 2M, block 94C, lot 6, C2 zoning district. Do we have someone presenting for the applicant?
Yes, William Poocher here.
Come on up.
Okay, so simply, I'm a member of Moose of Storage. My wife and I purchased this property at 97 Ward Ave back in November of last year. If everyone can picture Ward Ave, it's right next door to the convenience store to the right. Single-family house in the front, 2 self-storage buildings in the rear. So the way the single-family home is used now, there's a 2-bedroom apartment. Then there's an office on the right side that was meant for the self-storage business when it was developed in 2014. The self-storage industry has really changed that. Majority of it's done online, so use of the business office, it's really not needed anymore. So it's much more, be much better used as a studio apartment. It's already set up that way. There's a full bathroom, kitchen, living space, all the outlets, heating systems and whatnot. So it's a simple conversion. There's no change for structure. That's what I'm requesting.
Okay, thank you. Any comments from staff on the application?
Well, this was pretty straightforward. Really, there's no change to the building.
This is a public hearing, so if there's anyone in the audience with a comment or question on this application, this is your opportunity. Any comments or questions from board? Okay, hearing seeing none, I'll entertain a motion on the public hearing. I have a motion by Kathy to close public hearing, second by June. All in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Public hearing is closed. Moving on to item D, 25-11SP of Roma Construction, requesting a renewal and modification of an existing earth excavation and removal permit for property located at 1260 Norwich Road, Assessors Map 5, Block 3, Lot 1, Industrial 1 Zoning District. And we have for the applicant.
Good evening, everybody. Kyle Hoggard from CLA Engineers. I promise that someday I'll bring another project on a different property before you guys, but tonight I'm here for 1260 Norwich Road. In this case, we're here for the Roma Construction excavation permit, requesting a modification to that permit. Currently, Roma Construction is operating the gravel excavation. They're operating in this area of the site right now towards the Root Road and Norwich Road intersection. Under that permit, the gravel materials were temporarily stored in each phase and then trucked off-site with each phase. Roma Construction is also going to be constructing the auction facility on-site and doing the site work for that project as well. So to help facilitate that and coordinate with the excavation work, what we're requesting is a temporary stockpile area to be located on the site to stockpile topsoil materials and also to stockpile topsoil materials on site. We've located the stockpile area in this section of the site right here. If you'll remember a previous application for the auction facility, there was constructed a laydown area right in this area off of Route 12. That's all asphalt millings. What we're requesting is stockpile in this area. That area had been previously disturbed by a previous excavation prior to this permit. It had been excavated, it had been backfilled, it had been restored. It's all gravel at this point. It's a gravel surface at this point now. So this location, we had selected it with the cooperation with the auction facility and Roma. It's remotely located on the site, so there's no direct abutters that dust could impact. It's surrounded by the wooded areas and also the railroad to the south of it. What we're proposing is any topsoil that's stockpiled will be temporarily seeded with grass seed mix. Any gravel materials will be sprayed with water to keep down dust in this area. And again, as I noted, it's remotely located so that dust, to try and mitigate any potential dust impacts to the neighbors. We have surrounded the topsoil of the stockpile area with a double row of silt fence so that nothing will erode beyond that perimeter. We've also surrounded that with a berm constructed of either crushed stone or wood chips, whatever the contractor has readily available to surround the stockpile area with, to reinforce and provide more erosion and sedimentation control measures for that stockpile area. We proposed a haul route, through the site. The site is currently all open. There's currently a paved entrance at the Route 12 intersection across from Pilper Road. So the excavated material will be moved and trucked off-site, to that area. The proposal is to stockpile temporarily so that they can sequence the construction of the auction facility and the excavation prior to the expiration of the excavation permit. All that temporary material will be trucked off-site and taken by Roma. After the materials are removed, that area will be restored with topsoil and seed mix after that is done.
What's the timeline for the stockpile removal?
We're requesting that the permit be extended to December 2026, so that would be the termination of it. And with that, there's no changes to the actual excavation itself. The perimeter stays the same, the limits of excavation all stay the same. We're really just asking for a temporary stockpile area to help facilitate the both activities on site. With that, is there any other questions?
Okay. So this is a public hearing. If there's anybody in the audience with a comment or a question, stand up, state your name, and what your comment or question is.
Good evening, Tim Kander with Ritchie Brothers. I just wanted to thank everyone for all your assistance and cooperation keeping this project going. The stockpile area, the intent of it is to facilitate the gravel excavation, keep that moving in conjunction with Ritchie Brothers construction of our permanent facility. So that works hand in hand with our plans to develop the site and to build the buildings. And we've been in front of the engineers and that, with some preliminary designs of the buildings, and those will be moving forward in the very near future. But again, all this works hand in hand to allow all that construction to take place and get Ritchie Brothers in operation on the site sooner than later. So, thank you for your consideration and all your cooperation and assistance. Does anyone have any questions to make? Thank you.
Any other comments or questions from the audience?
Yeah, I just have one. Is this the same area that I've been asking you about for 2-3 years? If it's been filled before?
The area where the temporary stockpile is going to be, that was an area that was previously excavated without a permit and reclaimed.
Okay, so did we find out, did you look at the contour maps? Has it been filled?
Hold on, you could state your name.
Oh, Art Gagny, sorry.
Thank you. And then they did note that there was previous excavation prior to their permit. So that's been reclaimed, Ryan?
Yes, that was reclaimed before they started excavation on the site.
Okay.
That was excavation or filled in?
It was reclaimed.
They put material back and covered it over.
Okay.
So is it currently seeded? So is it currently a grassy area, or is it?
It's mostly gravel and some weed and scrub brush growing up in there.
Okay.
As noted, it was previously excavated, backfilled, and it's level ground now.
Okay. All right.
Hmm?
Okay. Any other comments from staff?
A lot of my comments have been addressed. I'd like to take a look at the plans while you guys continue, but I'm satisfied for the moment.
Okay. So I did see in the notes that there were some updates to be made to the sheets. So have those revisions not been made yet?
I believe they have. I just want to go through them, but I think we're good towards public hearing.
So I think we should address the notes in the public hearing. So if there's any questions, we can take care of that.
Ryan had sent us the questions, and we had addressed a number of things on the set of the slide.
Sure.
But we're happy to
Yes, if we
make
could
those.
please go over them
Yep.
quickly. It doesn't look like there's many, but we just want to make sure that it's addressed before we close. So the note on sheet 2 states potential temporary stockpile area to be changed to remove potential, since that is your expectation, right?
Correct, yes.
Okay.
Yep. So this note here in the middle of the stockpile area had originally said potential stockpile area. We've removed that, and that is.
Okay. So a topsoil stockpile area must be shown with a note that it will be uniformly spread and permanently vegetated.
That did not make it to the plans, so we would be happy to make that again.
All right, so that will have to be updated. All right, so number 4 is done. The temporary stockpile area must be reclaimed, loamed, and seeded. So that will
Correct.
need to
I
be
didn't
noted.
state that for the record, but there's not a note on the plan
Okay.
that specifies that.
So we're going to make that a note.
Absolutely.
All right. The operation schedule on sheet 2 must be updated to include update excavation schedule December 2026.
Correct. That is updated on note 1 in the
All right, so already done. Excellent.
Madam Chair, if we could back up just for
Yeah.
clarity, on number 5 that I have,
Yep.
topsoil stockpile area must be shown with a note that will be uniformly spread and permanently vegetated. Now this is, they're going to be putting that in the temporary stockpile area, so we can cross that one off. So number 5 is good.
Okay, but he said it wasn't noted on the plan yet. So
Okay.
he has to add the note, right?
All right, yeah, just note that.
Topsoil and gravel
Yeah.
will be stored in that area.
Okay. All right. Update reclamation schedule to state that millings will be placed as phases are excavated to prevent excessive dust.
That note has not been placed
Alright.
on there.
So we need to add that. Update to include screening with the screening area shown.
That was a previous approval, and that screening area is shown over here in the corner.
Modify the entrance location and note that DOT approval will be obtained. So what was the modification to the entrance?
We did show, the previous plan didn't show the existing apron that was constructed over here across the Toker Road. So we did show that on the plan. A call out or a note that a DOT approval will be obtained and not been put on the plan.
Okay, so we're going to add that note. Haul route to the temporary stockpile and off the site must be shown.
That has been shown in red here belongs to the exit.
Got it. Okay, so that one is good. And then an as-built will be required at the completion of excavation.
That, we do require as-built of each phase. I don't believe there's a note that says at the completion, but we can bring it and say.
We'll put that as a condition.
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay.
Yeah, yeah.
Alright. Anything else, Ryan?
Nope, that takes care of all of it.
Okay. This is still a public hearing, so if there's comment, question about the application or any of the modifications, revisions.
Can I ask you about the, it looks great, by the way. It's really coming along. There's arborvitae's, are those planted along the path there? Or there's bushes planted?
I believe those are cedars that were planted along there.
All right.
That was part of the auction facility plan approval,
Okay.
was the cedar screening along that road.
I
Yeah.
think, I
Yes.
was just concerned because what happens, they grow up, they get eaten by deer, right, and then you can see right through them.
Yes,
So-
yep, that is a concern. I believe that species of cedar is semi-deer tolerant, or resistant, I don't know if resistance is the right word, but deer tolerant. But yeah, that's why that was selected so that it will be evergreen, screens, and deer.
But it does look, it looks amazing.
Yeah, and they're required to maintain that, so
Yes.
if for some reason it did deteriorate, they'd be required to bring it
Okay.
back up. Yep. All right. Any other comments or questions from the audience? Any other comments or questions from board members? Okay, I'll entertain a motion to close the public hearing.
I'll make that motion.
I have a motion by June to close the public hearing.
Second.
Second by Frank, all in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Public hearing is closed. Moving on to the regular meeting. I'll call the meeting to order. Additions, corrections to the agenda. We do have one item to add under new business, item C 25-S7 SPL. Do I have a motion to add that under new business? I have a motion by John to add to the agenda. Do I have a second?
I'll second.
I have a second by Frank. All in favor? Aye. Any opposed? All right, adding as item C under new business. All right, citizen participation. This is opportunity for the public to address the board on an issue that's not an open application. Okay, hearing and seeing none. Going on to the unfinished old business. Item A, 25-2SP of Strategic Commercial Realty, Inc., requesting a special permit for earth excavation and removal on property located at 64 Black Hill Road, Assessor's Map 7, Block 78, Lot 19, RA 60 zoning district. So we had closed the public hearing but continued deliberation so that board members could review the traffic study that was submitted. So are there any items for discussion on this application?
And I have concern about the truck traffic still. This will add another 100 trucks to that area. And it's more populated than a lot of the other sand and gravel beds on Black Hill Road. It's more, a lot of the people that came out were concerned about truck traffic and dust. So I still have concern about it. That's me.
Sure. And I agree. It was a major concern brought up by the public. The traffic study did indicate that the additional truck traffic wouldn't impact the rating of the road, which is something to consider. I know there was concerns about the way people drive on Black Hill Road, which unfortunately that's an enforcement issue that we can't address as the Planning and Zoning Commission. So I think,
Suggest cameras or some kind of.
I mean, it's enforcement by the police, essentially, you know. It's definitely one of the more unique applications in that it is creating a pond, which we don't usually have. I did look to see if there was any limit on how big the pond could be, and in the regulation I wasn't able to find that. So I know there was a concern about the size of the pond. So if that is something the board wants to address in the future, then we can look at modifying regulations to limit the size of ponds, but I didn't see that we could have that limitation at this time without a regulation change. Other than that, the rest of the application does conform with the regulations as presented. Did any other board members have any items to discuss? Now, one thing I did see in the regulations that I wanted to make sure that we addressed was after 30 months, we can require an administrative review. Given the timeline of the application, I think we should have the applicant come back at the 30-month mark to give what should be the closing of their project as an administrative review on the application. Looking at what the staff has presented, they do recommend some conditions So staff conditions. One, Mylars are to be recorded prior to receiving a zoning permit to begin operations. E&S restoration bond in the amount of $147,000 must be submitted to the Planning and Zoning Office prior to receiving a zoning permit to begin operations. All unregistered, inoperable vehicles, vehicle parts, campers, registered or otherwise, mobile homes, tires, and miscellaneous bulky items must be removed from the property, with the property inspected by the zoning officer or town planner prior to being issued a zoning permit to commence operations. 4, the proposed truck route is to exit to the west, with the final destination being the operation at 136 Black Hill Road. Should that destination change, trucks are to travel only on state roads unless making local deliveries. As-built drawings of the excavation areas are required to determine compliance with the approved plan within 3 months of completion and prior to releasing the bond. The town engineer condition, item 1, activities shall be conducted in a manner that does not cause or contribute to violations of state water quality standards. Erosion and sediment control best management practices shall be installed immediately prior to and be maintained during and after construction as needed to prevent adverse impacts to water resources and adjacent lands. Such practices shall be in accordance with the Connecticut guidelines for soil, erosion, and sediment control. And then I also wanted to add the condition that an administrative review by the commission would be done at 30 months. So any other items to discuss on this application? Or any other conditions or items from staff? Okay. All right, so hearing no other discussion, I'll entertain a motion on the application.
Make a motion to approve with the conditions as read.
Okay, I have a motion by Frank to approve with the conditions as read. Do I have a second? I have a second by Kathy. All in favor? Aye. Any opposed?
I am.
Okay, so since we have a split decision, I'll ask for a roll call vote. So if you could just state your name and your vote, starting with Frank.
Frank Mills, yes.
June Gagnon, no.
Kathy Nestor-Harris, yes. Carla Stardens, yes. So the vote is 4-1, approval with conditions as read. Moving on to item B, 25-5 SPL of Ron Lyman requesting a modification to a previously approved site plan on properties located at 226, 230, 238 Norwich Road, Assessor's Map 15, Block 56, Lot 7, 7A, and 7B, C1 zoning district. Do we have presenting for the applicant?
Me.
All right, come on up.
For the record, my name is Bruce Woodis. I'm a land surveyor with Archer KWT, representing Lyman Development Corp. This is, well, first of all, everybody familiar with where the site is. It's just a little south of the Plainfield Police Station. Used to be a car dealership, a motorcycle dealership, and also an auto body place. Nothing has been operating there for, I think, a couple of decades now. And the place has fallen into disrepair, and Ron Lyman has taken the property over, and he started a renovation project probably almost 3 years ago. And if you've been by there recently, you've seen that the buildings have been rehabbed on the outside. They've also rehabbed on the inside. He's done a beautiful job. He's repaved all the parking lots. There have been some revisions to the driveways and parking areas, and that's why we're here for a modification of the original permit. Most notably, there was a new entrance added to the main building parcel from the driveway that comes up, and now there's an opening here that allows access to come in here, right here, and also loading docks have been added.
It should be under the gravel excavation.
Here. So there's a new paved driveway that comes up and around. And there's a new entryway into the main property, and new loading docks that have been built adjacent to the main building. As yet, they do not have tenants for any of these buildings. So this is somewhat of a generic site plan review application because we don't know if it's going to be a commercial venture, warehousing, we just don't know at this point. So what you see in front of you is a complete as-built of the entire property so it's all the current existing conditions. There's no proposed additional work out here other than removal of a small amount of pavement in the upper parking lot here. Let's see, it's underneath right here. And the reason for that, so this is an old parking lot that has not been repaved. It's cracking, it's deteriorating, and they don't believe that they're going to need it for any of the uses that may potentially be there. But with MS4, we have to have a balance of impervious added versus removed, and this would create the balance for any pavement that they've added to the project, so that we now have a slight amount of diminished impervious surface on the project.
So with the change of the driveway, that changed sloping and drainage as well?
No, as a matter of fact, the existing catch basin system is still the same one that was there before. They have added some curtain drains to some of the catch basin structures, and they did add 2 new catch basins at the bottom. There were catch basins originally, but they put in new ones, better ones, and more properly located catch basins down the front.
And were part of the changes the lighting of the building?
So yes, now they, with the changes, they've added lighting to the building. And so initially, we received comments that the initial lighting was, to quote, I think one of the staff members, it looked like a major league ballpark, all lit up.
Light trespass.
Yeah, because the lights were inappropriate. They were 45 degrees pointing down towards the road. Within the last month, they have changed all the lights on the fronts of the 3 buildings to downward-facing lights. They're still bright, they're still there, but they don't shine down into the roadway like they did before.
So the lighting plan is modified as well?
Yes.
All right. It's my understanding we just received these revised plans today, so staff has not had opportunity to review. Are we asking for a 35-day extension, Ryan, or are we granting one? What is the?
We are requesting a 35-day.
All right, so we are requesting a 35-day extension to review the revised plans that were submitted today. Thank you so much. All right. There you go. Thank you. All right, so anything else we need to address this evening, Ryan?
No, that's it. Once we review it, we'll generate some comments.
Okay. So I'll take it in. I'll entertain a motion to continue the application to next month.
I'll make that motion.
Motion by June to continue and a second by John. All in favor? Aye. Any opposed? All right, hearing none. Application is continued to next month. Moving on to item C, 25-1 SPL, Roma Construction Inc., requesting 2 additional buildings on property located at 6 West Parkway, Assessors Map 17, Block 11, Lot 130, IP Zoning District. And we have for the applicant.
How you doing?
I'm doing well. How are you? Excellent.
Give me a moment to get set up here.
All right, and do you have copies of maps for us?
I do.
All right, is that the pile on the corner? Frank, would you please distribute? Thank you, Frank. Yep, take them down. Share. Give them to them. Thank you. It's the same. Yeah, it's the same. All right, ready when you are.
Okay. Good evening. My name is Jim Luzak. I'm a licensed professional engineer in the state of Connecticut. Name of my company is Civil Solutions, and we were contacted by Roma to do a site plan modification for property at 6 West Parkway. You folks received plans way back in March, at the same time we went to wetlands, and since then there's been many comments from wetlands and from the town that we've gone through. We made plenty of revisions, so what you see tonight for the first time is what we believe is the final revision of the plan. It counts not only the wetlands comments that we were going to do last week or last month, and also comments from the town staff. So again, the applicant is from construction, and what this is a site plan modification. The original site plan was approved back in 22, in October of 22, and that site plan included one building, 11,800 square foot storage building with pavement, gravel storage area, grading. We had 2 detention ponds, water quality basins, and runoff, first inch of runoff back in 22 was only supposed to be an inch. That has since changed, we'll talk about that later. The original plan had landscaping and trees. It had fencing for privacy, for storage, from out of sight from the road. And it had a retaining wall here and a slope behind it. So this was done through 22. The applicant started construction, decided to change his mind several times, and came up with why we're here with a new modification. So instead of 2 buildings, because as we submitted that, we realized that there was some wetlands issues with the Corps of Engineers, the previous industrial park approval. So that went out the door, and what we've come up with now is an additional building here of 8,400 square feet, and we have additional asphalt paving beyond the original limits were. The original area in the back that was approved with pavement is now being proposed to have a roof over it, canopy, open 3 sides, which is a into a fuel structure on the back of it for additional storage of that building. The slope in the front was a retaining wall. It was just built slope, riprap on it, that is stable and in good condition. And same thing here, this slope here was riprap instead of grass slope. Detention basins remain in the same location. Detention basins, water quality basins remain in the same position. This one gets slightly enlarged due to the stormwater quality manual changes to 24. These were based off of 1 inch of runoff, flush. Now it's 1.3 inches. So this basin here did not change the size. It was kind of oversized to start with, so that was a good fit there. This one needed to become a little bigger. All the root drainage goes underground via pipes. Gutters and then pipes to the basins. We remain, the original trees that were on the plan are still on the plan, the same location, and the fence is still here. Additionally, proposing a sliding gate here at the entrance for privacy and security. So, like I said earlier, we had gone through wetlands. We went to the last meeting. We had a sidewalk. I believe everything is on track for approval next meeting. So I know you folks like to wait till that happens before we go any further here. So our time has expired here, and we've given you 1 extension, and I'm here to present you with another extension. So then we come back after our wetland approval and continue this application.
All right, very good. So we'll take your request for extension or granting of the extension.
I think it was received by email, right? You guys got it earlier today?
Yes. All right, very well. So we will have revised plans for the next meeting, as well as wetlands should have acted on the application. Is that right, Ryan?
That is my hope.
Okay, and then all the staff comments will be addressed with the revisions that are presented for next month?
That is the goal.
Okay.
The goal. So I believe we met all of them. I think anything outstanding, your cover letter, our cover sheet for my plans. There was comment about proposed lighting. I'll give you a photometric plan as well.
Yep.
I have the illicit discharge certificate with me, but I'll present it to everybody. I'll come and get rid of the whole paper. My copy I don't want it now. But we also have the flood ordinance certificate. That's also done. I've got grade calculations for Sean, and that's all going to be done. I have before the end of the week.
All right.
So plan on review it for our next
July 8th.
July 8th.
July 8th. All right, very good. All right, so understanding that we'll be getting revised plans and going through wetlands, I'll entertain a motion to continue. Motion by June to continue and a second by John. All in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Application is continued. Moving on to item D, 25-8 SP of Olga Photos, requesting special permit for an accessory dwelling unit in a commercial building on property located at 628 Norwich Road, Assessors Map 2P, Block 36, Lot 28, C2 zoning district. Any comments or questions from board members on this application? There were no conditions of approval as it did meet all regulations. So any items, right? Could you state that for the record? No comment. All right. So is that a motion?
Oh, so moved.
So I have a motion to approve by Frank. I have a second by June. All in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Application is approved. Moving on to item E, 25-9 SP. This was a public hearing that was continued, so I'll entertain a motion to continue the application. Motion by June to continue. Second by John. All in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Application is continued. Item F, 25-10 SP. William Kuchar requesting to convert a 499 square foot office to an accessory dwelling unit at 97 Ward Ave, section 12.28.2 of the regulations, ADU in a commercial district, Assessors Map 2M, Block 94C, Lot 6, C2 zoning district. Any items for discussion on this application? So there are no conditions of approval since it did meet all regulations. So hearing no discussion, I'll entertain a motion on the application. I have a motion by June to approve. Second by Kathy. All in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Application is approved. Item G, and we just have to correct that B that's there. 25-11 SP of Roma Construction requesting modification of an existing earth excavation and removal permit for property located at 1260 Norwich Road, Assessors Map 5, Lot 3, Lot 1, Industrial 1 zoning district. So this was a public hearing that was closed. There was some items for, wait, we did close it. Sorry, we had multiple applications, so just making sure that was, public hearing was closed. There were some notes for conditions. I just got to get to the right page. Somebody gets to it before I do, please do.
I have it.
Yeah, which page was it, Ryan? I know I saw it. And then I just...
It's under Roma Construction 2511 SP.
Oh, here we go. All right. Recommended approval with the following conditions. Special permit and Mylars are to be recorded in the town clerk's office prior to receiving a zoning permit to continue operations. Their performance bond of $174,000 that is in place will be retained until the site is completed per plan. Hours of operation are to remain Monday to Friday, 8 a.m. to 5 p.m., no holidays or weekends. Maintenance of equipment is allowed outside hours of operation, but no operating of equipment. Noted as taken care of was the note on sheet 2 stating potential temporary stockpile area is to be changed to remove potential. Need to add a topsoil stockpile area must be shown with a note that it will be uniformly spread and permanently vegetated. Add a note that the temporary stockpile area must be reclaimed, loomed, and seeded. The operation schedule on sheet 2 must be updated to include the December 2026 excavation schedule, which I believe was noted already. Update reclamation schedule to state that millings will be placed as phases are excavated to prevent excessive dust. Update to include screening with the screening area shown. Modify the entrance location. Note that DOT approval will be obtained. Haul route to the temporary stockpile and offsite must be shown, which it is. And then an as-built will be required at the completion of excavation. So those were the noted conditions of approval. So if making a motion, please include those in your motion as read. So any other items of discussion on this application?
I would get a motion to approve with these conditions as read.
All right, I have a motion by June to approve with conditions as read.
Second.
Second by Frank. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Application is approved with conditions as read. Moving on to new business, item A 25-3TA of Sean Connors, proposing a text amendment to section 1.2 definitions to add home occupation class 2 and transportation company. Since this is a text amendment, it does require a public hearing, so I'll entertain a motion to schedule the public hearing.
Make a motion to schedule a public hearing for our next meeting.
All right, I have a motion by John to schedule a public hearing at the next meeting, which is July 8th.
I'll second.
Second by June. All in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Public hearing is scheduled for July. Item B, 25-6 SPL of Jeffrey Perillo, requesting site plan approval for a 10-unit residential development located at Gallup Street, Assessors Map 1P, Block 38, Lot 27, RA19 zoning district. So staff has made a motion that this application is incomplete because the application fee has not been paid. The digitally submitted site plans do not meet the requirements of section 19 of the zoning regulations, and that no hard copy site plans have been submitted. So the staff is suggesting that there be a motion to deny this application as incomplete.
I'll make that motion.
I have a motion by June to deny the application as incomplete. I have a second by John. All in favor of denial, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? All right, unanimous denial of application. All right, moving on to item C, which was our newly added item. Get back to it in here. So item C, 25-7 SPL of Kevin Hickson, BL Companies, requesting site plan approval for a loading dock ramp at 70 Community Ave, Assessors Map 2P, Block 30A, Lot 3, Industrial Zoning District. So have you reviewed this, Ryan, or it just came in?
It just came in. It also has to go through wetlands.
Okay, so...
And ZBA.
Oh, wow, okay. So we're entertaining a motion to continue it. All right, I'll entertain a motion to continue. I got a motion by Frank, second by June. All in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Application is continued. Review and act of the minutes of the May 13th meeting. Were there any items for modification on the minutes? Hearing none, I'll entertain a motion to approve the minutes.
I'll make a motion to approve the minutes.
All right, motion by June to approve. Second by Kathy. All in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Okay. Moving on to correspondence.
We had one item of correspondence I have to dig through. We did have the quarterly. I would like to scan that and get it to all of you.
Okay, so you'll scan a copy to everybody? Perfect. All right, excellent, thank you.
I have one more piece in the folder.
All right, so they will scan a copy of that correspondence as the newsletter. It's pretty helpful. Okay, so is this to be read into the record, Brian, or?
It doesn't need to be.
Okay, so the correspondence can be scanned to members?
Sure.
Okay, so it was correspondence from the community regarding an appeal of a previous zoning change. So when those come in, Ryan, does it go through a court appeal process?
It wasn't actually filed with the court, it was brought to our office.
It was,
It requested a appeal, but
There's not an appeal process through the commission, correct?
right,
Correct.
so it was actually given to the town clerk and the first selectman, but that's not the proper appeal procedure.
Okay, so
we're informed of the proper procedure.
Okay.
How they move forward.
all right, so they were advised that the appeal process is through the court system. There's not an appeal process through this commission, because we don't review our own decisions, right? Okay, and then zoning board of appeals only looks at variances. They wouldn't do an appeal of our decision?
Zoning officer's decision, not the commission.
Okay. So is everybody clear on limitations of our board, that we can't re-review our previously made decisions? All right. Report from zoning enforcement.
Nothing new since I report.
Okay. Report from planning.
Nothing new since last month.
Okay. And then report from engineer.
The annual town MS4 report was submitted to the state.
Okay.
And that was formally received.
All right, excellent. So under other, we have the continuing discussion regarding advisory letter to citing council. So at this time, no application has been filed with the citing council, so it's kind of, we're waiting for that triggering event. The applicant is currently going through the deep air permit process, which is in a 60-day waiting period, which ends July 6th. And then at that time, the public can submit comments and request a hearing on the deep part. So town staff and town attorney are monitoring for citing council application. Am I right about that, Ryan?
Yes, I have not seen anything.
Okay. So once we're advised that it's been applied, that kind of starts our clock. And it's a more formal than just it's called a review and restrict. So we would actually review the information and determine under our regulations and plan conservation and development how it fits or doesn't fit that. So that's kind of where we are. Any questions on that process? A lot of waiting. All right. So hearing and seeing no other business, I'll entertain a motion to adjourn.
I'll make that motion.
Motion by June to adjourn. Second by John. All in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Meeting is adjourned. Thank you, everybody.